Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So, this is the video we did this morning. This is a Patreon only video, and there's no way it would be able to go up on YouTube anyway. Couldn't really speak about those things on YT. Do check it out if you are so inclined. Again, you can join the Patreon family for less than 3 pennies a day.
Indeed, you can.
And support us in what we're trying to do, help that awakening. It's obviously the season to be jolly, and in these times we could use a little jolliness. And honestly, Cindy and I have both been feeling it, and I'm not sure exactly what it is we're feeling. I know I feel connected, so connected to my family, ancestors. Those that have passed on, I really feel their presence so strongly. And I don't think it's just because of the holiday season, but I think the holiday season is a part of it.
It definitely helps when you're in a better place, when you're grounded and you're feeling stable and things are okay around you. That gives you that ability to allow the information to come in. So many people are under a ton of stress. They have a ton of traumas. They're triggered by this, they're triggered by that. And that's what blocks the information coming in from our ancestors and past loved ones.
Absolutely. And, we could do, and I have in the past, done videos talking on the origins of Christmas, pagan rites, drunken revelry, and all that. All this is borrowed, and, we might grow up thinking, well, Christmas is just for Christians. But the reality is, same thing with Easter. Is it really about the resurrection of Jesus, Yeshua, or is it simply about the resurrection of us all in a different manner? And it's all about renewal. And here we have the Christmas time, which is a reflection on giving thanks, Thanksgiving, giving thanks. There's nothing wrong with giving thanks. And here we are, we're exposing a system in which everything is upside down, inside out. And yet, so much that we really truly enjoy and love, we don't have to throw it away with the system. Nobody says you got to throw it away. Like, you come to the realization, as you see 5 surprising facts about Christmas, and you start to realize, it's really based so much on other traditions that were there before Christianity was the main dominant religion on the planet. And what they did was simply take things that we were used to and impart new meaning to them, but enabling us to keep continuing with the habits and the traditions that we already had. So it was a comfortable transition. And there's been so many different essays, theses written about how this happened, and the traditions switching, the meaning switching. But is it really, again, this birth of the Savior? And as we were talking about, do we really need a Savior? And some will say, well, look at the state of the world. Of course we need a Savior. But the whole point is that we are supposed to be our own saviors. And that gets mistranslated. Everything about this world that we live in is all about distracting us from that which is right under our noses. The obvious things, and anything that brings love and compassion and feelings of warmth and tenderness is not necessarily bad, even if it's based on misunderstandings, falsehoods, and lies.
It's about self-discovery. It's about, what do you like? This is your journey. You have to walk it in your own skin. You have to put one foot in front of the other. What is it that you like? What is it that you enjoy? I mean, that's the whole name of the game, is to for you to walk this journey. And if something makes you happy, if something makes you feel good, maybe it is surrounded in information that was given to us that's, not exactly perfect. But the truth is so many of us find these holidays and we can reach back in time and remember a time, a Christmas, a special moment. It's this energetic signature that we're feeling and we're pulling back into the present. And that's what I want people to understand. This is what we are trying to point out is like you can pull your vibrations up simply through memory. And there's a lot of good memories around the holidays. I mean, I love, love, love going around and looking at all the Christmas decorations. It brings me so much joy. It simply does. And especially when so many people are affected by the seasonal affective disorder. I mean, what's better than to go around and look at stuff that makes you happy?
Absolutely. And of course, when we're looking at the time of year and the fact that, Yeshua, Jesus wasn't really born at this time of year, all this, it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things when we start moving past dogma. It doesn't matter if it's pagan or not. To those that understand, all these things are just they're human constructs, and some are actually not even of human origin. But we won't go there in this video. We're gonna keep this light. The part that we should be really focusing on is the emotions. There's nothing that you take from this world other than your experiences, and you can take those emotions. You have emotions on the other side. That's the thing. We do have emotions on the other side. Emotions are real, and we spend so much of our time focusing in this system on linear logical thinking, and we stress the importance of analyzing and studies and documents and stuff instead of really tapping into the true power of what do you feel, because what do you feel is giving you an indication of what you are sensing, what senses that are not just the 5 normal senses. And we can bring ourselves to new places by revisiting past positive emotions with the understanding that there's no judge upon you but yourself. And this is the big reveal. So yes, what's the need for a savior? Well, you only have a need for a savior if you believe in the concept of original sin. So, we certainly don't. And in fact, again, there's so many systems. There's not a system, a philosophical religious system on this planet that hasn't been tainted by the control system in some way, shape, or form. They're always trying to distort things. Yet we could go to the core and embrace the core. And what is at the core of the holiday season? Well, it's love, and it's celebration, and it's joy. And for so many, it's all about family in the bigger sense of things. And even if we don't have a lot of relatives around us, even if we don't have blood relations per se, Cindy always says, family's the friends that you choose for yourselves. Friends are the family you choose for yourselves. That's what you say.
That's right. It's so true. I mean, friends are the family you choose for yourself. That's where a choice comes into place, because not all of us have, the nicest family members sometimes, and not all of our family members are really open to supporting us in this journey. So we can make friends, and friends are those that we choose to have around us, and those that we choose to share our, and be vulnerable with, share our emotions with, those that we feel safe around, those that we can connect from, the center, the human center. That connection is so critical. I think loneliness is really running rampant. And I think loneliness is something of a decay. But we don't have to sit in that loneliness. We can bring forth that human connection just by remembering where we were at a certain time and place in your life. And you can brighten your aura. You can brighten your whole essence just by one beautiful memory.
Absolutely. So whether it's Christmas caroling, which, again, this celebrations, they go back to, as they say here, pre-Christian fertility rites, etc., kissing under the mistletoe. All these traditions, they predate any sort of dogma. Gift delivering mythical beings. Yes, you can work deals, and I'm winking as I say that, with elemental beings and others. Again, so much of our current reality is, wait a minute. No, you don't have an invisible friend, Emily. You're 6 years old. It's time to give that up. You don't really see this. You don't really sense that. It's all a bad dream, or it's all a good dream, or it's all in your mind. It's not real. But the reality is, these mythical beings and these things that we see as kids are very real. Our perceptions have not been limited by society yet. We are able to see, sense, and know other beings are around us all the time. And as our perceptions increase, and we've talked about this many times, and you guys have also said, yeah, you've had these experiences too. I mean, they do it to me all the time. Where are my keys? Where are my glasses? Where is this? Where's that? Sweetie, did you see this? And then we'll look all around and we won't find it. And then all of a sudden we'll come back to, the initial place where I was looking, and it's right there in front of us. And did it just disappear, or was there some sort of glamour? Because glamour is very, very real. And as one of the things I realized in my, studying pagan roots and pagan traditions, was that these beings are very, very real. And yeah, you can interact with them. And I would invite them into my gardens, as I always love to grow things. And so in my early 20s, when I bought my first house, I was growing mostly like herbs for the most part. And I would sit and meditate there, and I would ask the elementals to come in and to bless the plants, and may they grow and be bountiful and happy and healthy. And it worked. I mean, I would hear the pitter-patter of little footsteps, or what I would take to be little footsteps, and my logical mind would, be like, is it the wind? Am I hearing bugs? I'd hear it with these sounds coming from the leaves. I'd move the leaves. Well, is there a beetle in here? Is there a frog in here? And yet I could hear them, and then I could see often little twinkles. This is what people saw all throughout the Bronze Age, the previous Bronze Age, where we get so many of our myths and legends again about these gnomes, elves, sprites, you name it. It was well known. People would even say things like, yeah, we have a house elf. He's a little, mischievous at times. And we did here in this house when we first came in. It liked to stay in the closet. It's just when your perceptions are open to these things, then you can experience it a little bit more firsthand. And while I'm digressing, because this is really what we're talking about when we're talking about Santa Claus bringing gifts, the first interactions are between those beings of a different density and ourselves. And it was commonplace. It was just commonplace before it was driven out by the system.
Having your mood in the right place really definitely has a lot to say about what kind of beings are going to be around you. You might be in a really elevated place, or you might be in a really low place. You might be in a mischievous place. You might be in a cheerful place. But as you are in these places, this is where these elementals can come through. And, spend some time with you if you so choose, but always remember you're definitely the one in charge of your journey, where you're at any given time and point. It's just there's the ability to interact with them if you want to.
If you want to and choose to. And, many understand Saturnalia was a Roman holiday and all. And it was a time to honor Saturn. Now, some have equated Saturn with Satan and automatically think Saturn is satanic and the devil, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Saturn is really a fascinating planet. And the reality is the rings have a purpose, and they have a purpose frequency-wise. And also Saturn is a place where there are some very, very high-density, powerful beings that do kind of regulate a lot of what's happening in our particular solar system. Saturn, astrologically, it's a reckoning. Saturn is a karmic reckoning, and Saturn could be restrictive as well. And so, there are some reasons to, I don't want to say fear Saturn, but certainly you respect what Saturn can do in your life. But at the same time, that word Satan means adversary. And, I suppose if you're doing things of a nature that's going to cause a karmic backlash, you could view Saturn as an adversary, but is it really you?
Usually, in the Western world, Saturn is looked at as like, oh no, horrible Saturn. I'm so scared. But in Vedic astrology, it's an extremely important planet that helps us understand where we're at. And actually, as Saturn goes through the houses, Saturn kind of tells you how you're doing in that part of your life. If you're not taking good care of yourself and your Saturn's going through your first house, Saturn's going to bring all those things up that you need to attend to help you take care of yourself, your body, your being, your everything around you. If Saturn's going through your third house of communication and you haven't been very communicative to those who need to hear from you, Saturn's going to point that out too. It's going to show you where you're at. So in Vedic astrology, it's seen in that sense, and it's honored in that way.
So we could see that so much of what we were brought up with, even with hanging the balls and the lights and all these different things, from the mistletoe. And I love fruitcake. I do. I love fruitcake. I've always loved fruitcake. Giving presents, all these predate Christmas, and everything. Same thing with the Easter tradition. It's all going to the roots. So we don't really need dogma to celebrate, is kind of like the point. And every day could be a celebration. And it should be a celebration. And I think when we're outside of the darkness of this system that we have been born into, then we will truly have much more celebration, because the artificial nature of the system is one in which every day is not a celebration. And the reality is every day should be a celebration, and really would be in many, many respects. When you look back to Christmases past, and as we get older, I think there's more to reflect on. Obviously, from this current life, you have more to reflect on. As you get older, there's more in the past than there is in the future. So you look and you remember. And again, these memories, all these memories that we have, we will take with us. We will take them with us. And as I was saying in a previous video, we will take the time to revisit things and think about all these different things that, maybe we could have done differently, would have done differently, chosen a different past, and literally play it out and see, well, what would have happened if we did this and did that. Maybe it's deciding between two houses. Maybe it's deciding on whether to move out or to, stay with your parents longer if you're, remembering back to those days. There's so many choices along the way, so many different possibilities that it could be mind-boggling. But when we're on the other side, we still have access to all of our memories. And in fact, we can play out all these different alternate realities. And so when we look to Christmases past, this particular picture, it's not my sister's house, but it does remind me of my sister's house growing up. All these beautiful scenes that we think about, again, everybody is coming from a different place and a different perspective. And while we typically think of Christmas as, hopefully being white, and, again, it's not likely to be white if you are in Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, even in Miami, again, even LA, it's not likely to be white, but we still have all these mind concepts that associate, different associations. And whatever your house looks like, if it's a humble little spot somewhere in the middle of the woods, like this cute little A-frame, or, maybe you're in a city or the suburbs, a beautiful cabin in the woods. We have fond memories of our cabin in New Mexico that we had a wonderful winter. I loved that winter. It was very, very magical. And, I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. This is actually my hometown, and this is probably about 10 years before, maybe 15 years before I was born. But yeah, this is an old photo of, and this is another one, of my old hometown. And Cindy and I, we both have lived in diverse places. She's been more to the west. I've been more to the east and the south. But all these photos are from places that we have spent time in and lived in and had Christmases in. And you think about the traditions, think about the energies, the frequencies, think about, gosh, if we could only make every day feel like Christmas, whether we're Christian, pagan, Jew, atheist, Muslim, it doesn't really matter ultimately. All those things are labels. And I think that we're coming to the time where we're going to start to shed labels, and think about what society is doing with us by trying to label things and make things so much more complicated than they have to be. Truly, if you've ever spent time on one of those automated systems, then you really do know what it's like when you're trying to get a human to speak to and you get nothing but the machine repeating itself. Okay, so maybe that is hell.
I know. I believe here in the 3D, labels have their place, but like with anything else, they can be totally and completely abused, to the point where you need them for everything. I think they can cause confusion, but I also think they can bring clarity. So I sit on the fence, and depending on where things are being labeled, if that's useful to me and I can use that to pull in a certain frequency, well, then that's what I'm going to do. Also, I think sometimes people, depending on where they're at, like emotionally, there could be a tendency to remember things from past and carry a sadness that time has passed. But I want to encourage people to make the conscious effort to bring yourself back into that happiness, bring yourself back into that moment, because that's what brightens the aura. That's what strengthens the soul, the spirit, the energy around you, is literally revisiting that time, those moments of happiness, and deter yourself from, falling into a sad place, because all of these things that we've experienced in life, they're tools for us to grow with. And just like you can train the brain, you can go back to places and grab that frequency quick enough, and pretty soon it's just something that you utilize. Like if you get bad news, well, you can actually use a good memory to help yourself through that bad news while you're dealing with, or functioning with, or having to do certain things that you might not want to do. So it's very beneficial, these good warm memories.
Absolutely. And home is where your heart is, and you're never far away from home. And this is, coming from somebody that has spent so many Christmases in new places. And, it's so wild that wherever you go, you will find wonderful people that will open up their arms to you if we have an open heart ourselves.
Mm-hmm. That's right. There's definitely a lot of trauma out there, but this is also a time where we can try to cope with that trauma and pull in emotions that can heal the soul, that can heal the heart, heal the mind. But Christmas is just fun. I find it to be so fun. When I was decorating the tree, I, as far as the belief system goes, I mean, I look at it as just I'm getting in touch with my pagan roots. I want to be joyful. I want to make things look pretty. I want to feel that energy of appreciation and gratitude. So that's what I do.
Absolutely. And, I've had some very, very diverse Christmases. This is Sarasota. And I grew up in New England and spent most of my life in New England. So I was used to having maybe a 40% chance of a white Christmas. And certainly that was not going to happen in Sarasota, Florida. But it was beautiful nonetheless. And the festivity abounds. And New Mexico was an amazing place as well. And we loved New Mexico. And Cindy did also have Christmases in California that she remembers so fondly as well.
Oh my gosh, they had some of the most beautiful lights. That would be my favorite time to go out and driving through the neighborhoods. And it's like people spared no expense to make certain streets look really good. And they would have contests left and right. So everywhere you went there, lived in Sunnyvale for a bit, Santa Clara, San Jose, went often to visit Palo Alto, and just everywhere had something amazing to offer.
It's again about the frequencies, and I think we could tap into that anytime we so choose. In Sarasota, there was drum circles in Sarasota and Nokomis and Venice, Florida. 3 or 4 nights out of the week, you would have drum circles on the beach at sunset. And that was a fantastic way to come together. And then, around Christmas time, then you'd have people dressed up like Santa Claus on the beach. And also kirtans, which such high frequency vibrations from people playing music and singing and bringing in the Sanskrit mantras into it. Just an amazing thing. Again, I used to hang with a group that used to say that they were Hin Jews because they were born Jewish. Most of them ended up converting to Christianity and then ultimately basically consider themselves Hindu. So, it didn't matter really. And again, these are all labels. And I think we're coming to the time where we understand dogma divides, but the roots, what are we striving for? We're striving for a sense of unity, a sense of love, a sense of family, a sense of compassion for others. These are all the things to be, elevated. When people say, I consider myself a Christian, what is it that you're really saying, per se? Are you saying that I believe in what Jesus was talking about, Jesus, Yeshua in the Bible, especially like when you're talking about the Beatitudes? Certainly, nothing wrong with that. If you're specifically saying that you believe in the dogma that's involved, that you must be baptized, that, that whole original sin thing and blood sacrifice, then that's something a little bit different. The frequencies there are not as high, certainly, as when you're talking about love and compassion and universal brotherhood. As you look to Charleston, Market Street, Charleston, South Carolina, one of my favorite places in the world. Just absolutely a beautiful, beautiful place as well. There's beauty to be found everywhere. And ultimately, the beauty is in the heart and in the ability to perceive that beauty.
And I think this would be like one of the funnest jobs on earth, is to play with the horses on Christmas and give people Christmas rides up and down the road, and just see how they decorate everything. I mean, I think it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. As we go on the awakening path and we discover, well, yeah, there's pagan roots to Christmas, and you discover all these different things. I think what happens is a lot of times people get afraid to carry forth anything, any sort of traditions that brought them joy and happiness. Well, again, we don't have to give all that up. We could let go of the dogmatic approach to things. As you look to Ohio here, you could get rid of the dogma, but you could still embrace the spirit of it, the love, the joy, the celebration, the lights, the happiness, the thrill on kids' faces. Because after all, again, many will say Christmas is for kids, but then many will also recognize that in some ways we never truly grow up, because the soul is eternal. So the soul already is. And, the reality is most of us have had many, many childhoods in the past. We just can't remember them.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the favorite times is when I was little, and I would go out, and we lived up in Idaho, and there was Christmas trees all over the place, and I always decorated two. I decorated one for the house, for the main house, and then I decorated one for my dad's wood shop, because I had a bunch of kitties that were cold, and that's where they lived. They lived in the wood shop. So I had my kitty Christmas tree, and I would always get them presents. And I remember so specifically walking out, looking for a tree for my kitty cats, and the snow was glistening, and it was like hard on top, but you step and the snow breaks through, and just one step after the next, and realizing, wow, how bright that snow, and how white and pristine and clean it was, and how it sparkled in the sun like diamonds, yet it was so cold. That was probably some of my favorite times.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, again, just that coming together as a family. At this point in time, we really need to come together as a family, as a family of beings that are dwelling on this planet, which is in sore need of an overhaul of the control system that's in place. That control system needs to be booted out. And how will it happen? It's not going to happen through anger and hatred. No, it's really going to happen through the opposite. When we start having love and compassion truly for each other, and understanding that we've all been manipulated, all of us have been manipulated by the system, so that we turn on each other. When that sets into our hearts, then you're going to have a real change. As you look to New Mexico there, and this is also New Mexico, then we will start having a serious change on good old planet Earth.
It's up to us. It's up to us in every way that you could possibly think of, how things are going to change. There's no anyone on the external that's going to change. It has to start right with you. It has to start with me. It has to start with the decisions we make to live in the world we want to live in, because we are we're the bigger co-creating force. And if we could just start to understand that and pull ourselves together and away from the sticky control system, then we could manifest something different.
Absolutely. As we look to Idaho, and these are some of Cindy's earliest memories of Christmas, as she was born in the greater Coeur d'Alene area of Idaho, right on the Canadian border. And we've shared that she was used to a farming lifestyle. That's what she grew up with, and it was a beautiful, blessed thing, really, to experience nature and all this beauty.
I don't think you can get any better childhood to grow up than growing up with your farm animals and taking care of them. It's like you go outside in the morning and you play with your animals all day, and you go in and you go to bed, and every now and then you go in and get something to eat, but that's not the big thing. It's no telephones, no hardly anything. But the animals were everything. They kept me grounded, and they kept me they gave me my schedule. My animals did.
Absolutely. And I remember Christmases in the desert. That was certainly a different existence that I was used to, but some of the best memories are memories in Nevada. And no, weren't gambling, not by any stretch of the means, but this cute little town here, this was home for a while. And again, a desert town of less than 1,000 people, you get to know people quite well. And still, you got Christmas in the desert. Absolutely Christmas in the desert. And this is another beautiful Main Street, USA. It's a blessing to be able to see and feel how people celebrate. I remember up in Shasta, when we were in, I forget where that was. Yeah, we went to visit Shasta. We went and we found a place. We played a little pool, and we watched where there was football games going. And one of my favorite things to do is to blend in with locals when on the road and just feel their energies and feel the celebrations. And growing up a Dallas Cowboy fan, I would never root for the San Francisco 49ers, but feeling the energy of the people there rooting for the 49ers, I was rooting for the 49ers. Because, again, you get caught up in the energies and the frequencies and the celebration. And this is what it's really about. It's, again, about that sense of unity and oneness. And we could tap into that anytime, as this was my hometown for 17 years. Beautiful Connecticut town on the shoreline. It was a great place to raise the kids. And just kind of typical New England, I guess you would say. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, they're still doing their thing. We're still doing our thing. So many people out there still doing their thing. See, 25 years, I guess this couple was together in this location and doing their thing, just trying to make people smile. Just try to make people smile. If we all just try to make people smile a little bit more, we will change this world.
I think it would be a great idea.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.